going to be open and I'm going to talk about it. I guess you could say it all started when I was a kid, and I lived a very sheltered life, and no one is moving any closer to me. My parents, I love them so much. They are the two most loving people I could ever meet, but they kept me very sheltered. But also, they would film... It was very confusing because they treated me like a child, but yet they would, bring in adult situations which were like... And then I'd go to school and be talking about stuff like that, and they're like, wow, you're very mature, you speak very... But yet, still, I was, And then I wasn't diagnosed that I had dyslexia until I was in 6th grade, or ADD, or any of those things. And depression runs in my family. My grandfather had it, God rest his soul. My mother has it, my father has it, and so it's automatically hereditary. And then all of a sudden in 7th grade, like, all these things started happening at once. And that seems to be my stigma. Things started happening all at once. In 7th grade, my parents' marriage was on hiatus. All my relatives lived around this area. And then all of a sudden they started branching out and moving away. And then my grandparents went into a rest home. So I went into severe depression where I wanted to kill myself and everything like that. And this was all in 7th grade. And it was very hard for me at the time, but then I tell you what was a blessing in disguise. I stayed back in 7th grade, and it turned out the people there the year before me were much more accepting and much more like open than the people who were in the class that I was already in before. And so that was a big help, because I don't know how I would have gotten through high school or anything like that with that group. But all through high school, kept on feeling it. Never had full confidence in myself. I never, never thought I, looked good or anything like that. And Dawn's looking at me like, oh my God, how can you think that? Well, I did. And it was very hard, because I never had any confidence in myself. And the only thing I had confidence in was my singing and all that stuff, because...
At least you had that.
And then, And then after high school happened, I went to college for a little bit, but then all of a sudden my family needed me. And I'm the only child, so that's a lot of pressure. And so I had to quit school, get a job, and ever since then I was always taking care of my parents. And then we depended on each other, and that's what it was. We were dependent on each other, which spoiled things for me in my personal life, and also was not good for them either.
Kind of cramped your style.
A little bit, yeah. Anyway, and a lot of stuff happened. I met people who I thought were my friends, and they said, oh yeah, we're going to be around forever, and then all of a sudden, they get close to my parents, and then they take advantage of them, and then that just broke my heart, and we ended up losing a house because of it, and we were out in the street for a while.
I met Chris about the time that all this was already in motion, and I was coming into something, and he was already working for this person, and Chris and I, we rarely ever got time to work together. I only knew a little bit of him, but
I was annoying. Could you believe that?
I stayed away from him. Anyway, but as time grew on, and we got to know each other a little bit better through our working and everything. It's amazing, because it's almost like destiny was like, these two. I realized he is like a paradox of my life, because his parents were dependent on him. My mother was very dependent on me after a while. She was agoraphobic for a while. And those of you who have panic disorders and have social anxiety, that's what it was called back in the day, agoraphobia, where you were afraid to leave your house. You didn't want to deal with society and that kind of thing. My mom had that for years, and it was a big family struggle. And so I knew about how it felt like to have your parents want to take it out of you, because you're the only life force going on, and they're kind of staying back in where they are. And I struggled with him for years, trying to make him realize that, this is what's going on. Not to say that you don't love your parents, but you've got to kind of pull back and pull away. And
because my mother would always remind me oh, you're the miracle baby, because my parents tried 5 times to have a kid before they had me, and each time failed, and I was the miracle. I hate saying that.
Well, you are.
And so Mom would take almost every waking moment to remind me of it. And therefore, it gets very overwhelming. Very overwhelming.
It's almost like something you got to live up to now.
Yeah, it's like something you have to live up to.
And for me, I was an only child too, but my dad, not my mother, but my dad is like this,
Her dad.
My dad is wonderfully one of those people that knows everything. Like he's the person I will go
he's
to,
very
but at
knowledgeable.
the same time will rattle you. It will get you to like, oh, so what do you think about this or that or the other thing? My dad is one of these people that, has put me so high up on that pedestal that for me it's almost kind of a weird thing because he wasn't around for so many years and it was like a compensating thing. And then after a while, it was like he's the person I depended on for, just not only support, but like, give me what you didn't give me before, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of need that.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I'm completely...
Yeah, but when I first met Dawn, that was the case.
Oh, yeah. It was
anytime that we fought or whatever,
forget it. Dad was involved.
Dad called, and he tried to be the therapist.
Oh, yeah, he is. Well, because that's in his background.
Yeah.
My dad, my dad is...
I love her dad, but...
My dad is a full extent of things he's been in his life, and he, he was... a lot of things, and it's intimidating as his daughter, but at the same time I had to branch into my own person, which puts me into the mother I had to become. Those of you who asked about children, my daughter Julia has Asperger's. It's mainly a social disability. I won't even call it a disability.
It's not a disability. And you know what? I'm gonna say this. When I first got diagnosed with a learning disability, my cousin worded it perfectly. It's not a disability, it's a difference. We learn differently.
My daughter has an enhancement that makes her different than everybody else.
Yes.
But here's where I will tell you guys about school systems, the one that asked about it. When she was very young, we put her in preschool.
God,
we put her in preschool, and at the time... Are you done? At the time, my daughter's father's... my sister-in-law... Her and I were pretty close. We have daughters who are the same age, and the two girls were close. So we put them in the same preschool, and my daughter, she didn't really fit in, and it wasn't her fault. But anyway, as the time went on that she was in there, I would get phone calls from the head or the main teacher telling me one afternoon that my daughter was violent, which is not the case at all. My daughter had a situation where I guess she had a block she picked up, but she threw it out of frustration. It wasn't the fact that she was trying to hurt or harm anybody. That's never been the case with her. She's never been that way. Anyway, it started a whole succession of stigmas. There was a bunch of stigmas, and my daughter was only 3 years old, and already she had stigmas, and it was killing me as a parent because of my own backgrounds, because of my own inadequacies, and I felt like now it's being shown on her. Well, we had her tested. I had people come in that followed her, that were analyzing her during the day and that sort of thing. And in a way, it was a blessing and a curse at the same time. When we finally took her to the child developmentalist before we realized she had anything, I was against her being on any medication, her being deemed as a sick child, whatever it was. I wasn't having it. It turned out that she was diagnosed with Asperger's, and at first I fought the whole notion of no, she's not, because to me they said it's the higher spectrum of autism, and I didn't understand really what that meant. But as I got involved and I got more, not educated, I don't want to say that, because as parents we do this whole reading up on everything, and we want, fuck that. It's your kid you gotta study. It's your kid you gotta pay the attention to. So anyway, there were things that she was doing when she was very young. She would do this a lot. She would look at the lights a lot. She'd walk on her tippy toes a lot. There was a lot of things. As my daughter has grown older and older, and the more involved that I became, because I decided then and there I was going to be her advocate. Nobody was going to hurt my child. Nobody was going to. I was not going to allow her to go through life with any stigmas. I got very actively involved with her school. I got actively involved with her Girl Scout troop, with PTA, with volunteering for the school, with working for the school. I got so involved that I became the main person everybody came to. And as her life has progressed, she's progressed. And I attribute that to her and to the fact that I made sure that she had a support system. It's very important to make sure in your school that they have a CSE, which is a school educational support system while they are there. If they have a disability, they are mandated this. This is something they
it's by
are.
Law, they
it's
have
by
to do.
law they,
They
have
have to.
So I was very fortunate and very lucky after the preschool debacle, because they stigmatized her, they alienated her, they treated her like she was, a case, and I wasn't going to have it. So once we got her into elementary school, I met a very lovely woman, and I worked with her from the time Julia was in kindergarten till she left at 5th grade, and even nowadays she's still involved. She was the head of special education in my school system, and she worked diligently to get everything Julia needed as far as support systems, groups, from everything. The teachers that had to work with her. She gets all of those things. But at the same time, the important thing is to always build them up for their... I don't even want to say this because she's such a extraordinary young girl, and
young woman.
To push her through being normal in this world, I rewound my mind and my setting. They need to change for her. She's the example. She's the one that makes them look bad. She is the all-accepting. She is the wanting to learn. She has a stubbornness like her mother. She has a stamina that she wants to work harder, work better. She's your ideal student. At the same time, she does. She's had social problems, and as she's getting older, they're becoming less and less because she's becoming more and more in tune to her and what she needs and her emotions, and those things don't happen on their own. In fact, they tell you that they can't ever understand what any of those things mean. They tell you they don't understand sarcasm. Bullshit. My kid does, only because we treat her. I've always treated her as she's normal, that there's nothing wrong with her. When I explained to her that she had Asperger's, I said it's not a disability, it's an enhancement of your life. It makes you think the way you do. I would rather her have this than her be what a lot of these children are at her age.
Yeah,
So,
God, yeah.
For school systems, I say that you have to stay very involved. You have to be on top. I'm not saying be me. I'm a different person. I'm just very, I've been a people person, watcher all my life. I am very intuitive. I am very, I don't allow certain things. I won't allow certain things. But now as she's getting older, I kind of let go and kind of let her be. But I'm always in the wings, and I'm always supportive, and I'm always giving her affirmations. They need positive affirmations all the time. They need a structure. In the beginning, when they're young, they need a very tight structure. As they're getting older, they need less and less, because now they're trying to learn to be their own person. My daughter is expressing that now at 12 years old, that she wants to do certain things on her own. I've been protecting her from all of that because, again, of her disability. It's not a disability. I want that to stop. Stop thinking of it as a disability.
Yeah.
It's just an enhancement, something different they own.
Exactly.
That they go to school with, and that makes them set apart from everybody else. Just like all of us in this world. We're all set apart in this world from everybody else by the things that we attain in our life. Even
And
if
how
they're
we
the
attain
negative,
them.
it's the negative that can be turned around.
Yep.
I turned mine around. I don't know how, by the grace of God, but for me sitting here today, in front of a camera feeling confident and talking to you about all these things and giving you my perspective. If you told me this 10 years ago, I would tell you you were a liar. It's all perception. It's the way you look at it. And stop looking at it for the word of what it really means. Look at it for what it attains for you. Yeah, it sucks to feel this way. Yeah, it sucks to have this, but what is it doing on the positive?
Yeah.
Turn that around. I know it sounds like, oh, sure, you know, cauliflower, easy for you. No, it wasn't. I went through it. He went through it. We went through it together.
Yeah.
I will not forget, as two individuals that we are, both of us within the same amount of time would do things to ourselves because we felt the same way and didn't know how to communicate that to each other.
Yeah.
I would fight him tooth and nail not to be what I used to be. I had to show him a side of me that nobody got to see. I didn't want anybody to see it. It was put away. But because he was going through it and struggling with it so badly, and I saw so much more in him than he even realized at that time. And I believed in him so much more than he even realized. And if I had that in my life, things would have been different. But for me, he brought me to think the way I should have thought about myself. And I saw it in him, and then eventually I saw it in myself. It is possible. I mean, it's a very different situation. Everybody's depression and everybody's disability are individual, and it's all different. But I think you can put a different spin on it if you think of the person inside. Never mind what is here. Think of the person inside and what they have. And what I saw in him, genuine from the day I met him, loving as hell, talented and charismatic, his personality, he gives so much, doesn't realize it needed to be toned down a little, but he does. He gives so much. And it's why I love him today, and that's why,
and hopefully she'll keep loving me for
always.
The rest of the night.
And
yes, Nikki, you saw some emotion right there.
And for me, I just want to say it was never anything for me that I could actually turn around and use the word happy. That was a word you couldn't use in my vocabulary. I've said it a million times. The word doesn't exist. I have come to a point in my life where I know that happiness doesn't have to be a hard obstacle to get to. It's a mindset. Even if it's only fleeting, find the happiness in something that you know makes you feel like yourself. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't have done that. I realized along the way. And now it's just I go with the flow instead of sitting there going, why is this way? Why am I not that way? And I want to be better, and I want to look like her, and I want to be like them, and why am I not this, and why is this? Why me? Why me? Why me? There is an inner you that wants to come out, but you're the person that has to do that. And you
have the key.
And you also need the support. You need loving people. You need people.
Absolutely.
You don't need a million. You need one or two.
Or
and
three,
that's it.
Whatever.
It can be done. I mean, it's a hard thing. It really is, but it can be done. And I just
once it comes to the end, the feeling is just, it's unbelievable.
Okay, so before we get any more hokey, I'm sure I'm going to either probably splice this video because it's very long. I just hope you guys understand. So we're at the end because the camera literally.
The camera pretty much told us to shut up.
Actually, we have all that time, but anyway, we just want you guys to realize that when you give us topics like this, there's a lot of stuff we can get into individual. Like certain things. I mean, Chris and I were diagnosed with completely different aspects of depression. we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk more about, having, I did introduce it on my channel about Asperger's and that kind of a thing. I can discuss that. That's not a problem. But all in a whole, as far as stigmas and labels are concerned,
screw them.
Screw them.
Screw them. You are you, and you should be happy with who you are, because you're loved, not just by people in your life, but by, if you believe in something higher, then you are loved by that as well.
And human beings all have that internal thing in them, that we all have compassion. We just don't know how to channel it the right way. Like, we don't understand. But when we are made to understand, then we can adjust. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the world, a lot of ignorance happens because people don't adjust to learning or understanding, so they make fun or they judge or whatever. I mean, but when you understand, when you kind of just give it a moment and just give it some time, you really learn about not just what that person has, what that person is, and that's the more important thing.
Who that person is,
or who that person is, and that's the best advice we can give you.
Absolutely.
So I hope you guys got something out of all of this. If not, just a little bit more about
who we
us.
are. Yeah.
And so that's it for this week's CholyChats.
Thank you.
We will see you guys. Bye.
Later.